So I learned recently that between 80 and 90% of our fears, worries never come true. And it's kind of mind-blowing because a lot of us spend a lot of time worrying about so many things. And spend a lot of time thinking about fear and the ways to overcome it. And so in this video, I want to share with you a simple framework to overcome fear. This isn't a one-size-fits-all, but it's something that I've implemented in my life and has helped me. And I'm going on a walk as I do this. Thought it'd be fun to be outside. I don't go for enough walks in general, so we're on a walk today. It's interesting because evolutionarily, we're wired to look for potential threats in our environment. You know, back in the day, we had to fend against other animals that were trying to kill us. We also had to fend for ourselves for survival just to get food. So we're wired to avoid threat. Except it's different in today's modern world because we don't have to worry about getting killed so often, at least most of us. So most of us don't have to worry about the next meal, although some of us are there. Most of our worries aren't around those topics. That's more of an urgent thing. Most of our worries come from the self. So we worry about what people think of us. We worry about if we're appearing attractive or intelligent enough to other people. We don't want to feel like an outsider. So many things you can worry about. You know, we worry about the things we can't control, and this really takes us away from being able to act on the things that are important. So I think of fear as a way to kind of visualize this. If you think of fear as a snake, right? If you're a snake charmer, you need to know how to tame the snake, right? And once you become a snake charmer, in other words, once you learn how to tame your fears, you begin to be able to form a way to use the fear to your advantage. And fear actually becomes your friend. So I'm going to illustrate that in this video. So the first stage is to name the fear. So again, if you're a snake charmer, you're going to be naming snakes. You're going to know the difference between different snakes, and you're going to have a different protocol for each one. So the first step is just to name it. And when you name your fear, you begin to understand what the actual issue is. If you're just thinking these thoughts in your head, you're just going to carry that anxious feeling with you all the time. But if you write down specifically what you're feeling afraid of, what you're anxious about, what you're worried about, if you write it down, then you're going to be able to understand what the issue is. Just get it on paper so you can visually see what the issue is. Once you have it named, once you've identified the issue, the next step is to tame it. There are a number of ways to do this, and it's going to be dependent on the situation and the person, but there are a couple broad ways to tame fear in general. And so I'm going to be sharing some of the ones that I like to use for myself. So personally, there's different levels to what we are fearful about. You know, there are spiritual, emotional, mental, and bodily levels to life. And I think having a way to address each of those is really powerful. The first one I'll say is having a quote or a mindset or a verse of scripture, if that applies to you, that allows you to reshape what you're thinking about. So for me, that is going to be James 1:2-4. I have one of my favorite verses that is so powerful and just reshapes how I feel immediately. So The verse goes, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, for it is the testing of your faith which produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This is such a powerful verse to me for so many different reasons, and I could go on about it, but it's simply that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's the very simple, simplified way of getting into it without going too far down that rabbit hole. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and if you can find joy in the hardships, it's gonna make life so much more enjoyable. And if you look at it in a way where, okay, how can I grow from this? It's gonna actually lead to your benefit. So that's the first thing to do, to tame the snake on a spiritual level. Next is emotional. So we're emotional beings, and we're wired to react emotionally to things that trigger us. And a really simple reminder here is just to remember that you're not your feelings. I've said this in a previous video, but your feelings are a part of you, and you can remember that even though you may feel the emotions, you can choose how to react to them. So again, I'll say it again. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose how you react to your environment. This is so, so powerful. It takes a lot of emotional strength, but it can allow you to not fuel the emotions any more than they already are being fueled by the given environment. The next part I want to address is the mental aspect. You can, very simply, my way of thinking about fear is it doesn't feel good and it doesn't help me. It's a very simple reminder on the mental level. Okay, like what is the purpose of this fear on an intellectual, mental level? Well, worrying about this isn't doing anything for me. It's not helping me and it doesn't feel good, so I really shouldn't be doing this. Very simple. And then on a physical level, fear is not healthy. Fear in amassed quantities is not healthy. It leads to many disorders, mental and physical. Sometimes you can feel a headache, heart pain, bodily pain. We feel that within our bodies, so that's a simple reminder like, hey, do I really want to sign up for this? Do I really want to affect my health by stressing about this in this moment? Okay, so great. That's the second part. You've named it. Honk, honk, honk. I'll wait for these sirens. So again, you've named it. You've tamed it with some of these concepts to allow you to tap into the bigger picture, to look at your worry in a broader perspective. This allows you to zoom out and not get so bogged down into the detail of what you're experiencing. The third part is to reframe it. So there's this idea I came across last year. I don't remember who said it, but if I find it, I'll let you know. The idea is that fear is actually your friend. And let's weave this into our analogy about the snake. Think of the snake as something that's trying to help you. So in other words, fear is trying to help you, but it's not doing so in an effective way. To reframe it, you can ask the fear, hey, what are you worried about? And it will tell you, right? You know the thoughts in your head. So if you think of those thoughts as another friend, you can say, hey, what are you worried about? Okay, cool, I hear you, I wrote it down. And then you list out your ideas, whether on a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical level, of why you should not be worrying. And naturally, if the fear is great enough, you're still gonna feel it, right? So at that point, the question is, how can you take action on it? Is there something you can take action on? And if there is, then you block out time in your schedule to go and address it. So at this point, once you've reframed it, you're like, okay, you're trying to help me. This is why I think you shouldn't be worrying, but let me hear you out. And it will list the root of the issue. Once you get to the root of the issue, this is when You're going to block out in your schedule dedicated time to execute a specific task. So whatever that task is, when you complete it, it should result in that feeling leaving you because you've addressed the root of the issue. There's nothing to worry about if you've addressed the root of the issue. So again, if you've tamed it and you still feel unsatisfied, then address the issue. Act on it in a way that is healthy, productive, and results in you feeling better. So that's my framework. I hope that it helps you. If you have any ideas, if you have any advice on how you have managed your fear, your worry, your anxiety, please put them down below for other people. This is just a really simple framework. I thought of the snake analogy today, but yeah, I hope it makes sense. And I hope that you can apply this to your life.